going on? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Ron. Today I'm not even going to waste introing this video. I know you guys read the title. I know you guys got places to be, bread to make. Now, if you're new here, I'm Ron, and I talk about fantasy sports and real sports. Just so happens on this Thursday, I'm talking about fantasy football. Now, if at any point during this video you're fucking with the content, make sure you go down below and subscribe, leave a like, and if you don't, that's cool too, man. Let's go.
I know I'm pretty cool. My nitty bag, my kitty boots. I got the juice, I got the juice.
So my favorite trade target this week in fantasy football is going to be Robby Anderson, and he's wide receiver 22 on the Reddit trade value chart. I just want to explain that I'm using the Reddit trade value chart as a market price for these players on this list. It's a nice set of players and where they should be priced and how they're valued across the league. It's like a conglomerate of like Fantasy Pros, ESPN, like every ranking. It's all put into that Reddit post. I'll link it down below. But he's wide receiver 22 on there, and you think that that's a fair price because he is the wide receiver 21 in points per game. But I think that number is it's a bad indicator of how well he's actually played this season. Anderson right now, he's number 7 in targets, number 8 in target share, number 6 in receptions, and number 3 in receiving yards. So the only hole you can really poke in his game is the TDs. Pause if needed. And I'd say the reason for his TDs being so low, he only has 1 this season, is because it's a mixture of like the Panthers being a bad scoring offense, only 25th most points per game, and it's just bad luck. Now, Robby Anderson, he has like 600 plus yards and only 1 touchdown on the season, but when you look at it back in the Jets days, you know, God for fucking bid, we look at the Jets, Robby Anderson, he was like the only bright spot on that team for a little bit, and in those years, 2017 to 2019, he was the lone bright spot in that receiving game. And he was pretty much the only target. It was like a mixture of Ryan Fitzpatrick, Josh McCown, Sam Darnold. Who knows what the fuck's going on over there. He was averaging a touchdown every 137 yards, and he never fell below 5 touchdowns in a single season. Now, if we average out, he gets a touchdown every 137 yards, and we take his 686 that he has right now, he in theory should have 5 touchdowns right now, and that would put him at the wide receiver 6. Now, I know that's a lot of like you know, bullshit. Oh, if he could have had 5 touchdowns, he could have had 5 touchdowns. If my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle, as the infamous Snacks would say over at Big Dog's Gotta Eat. The Jets, as we know, are a bad scoring offense any one of those 3 years, 2017 to 2019, and the Panthers are 25th in scoring. So they're both low scoring offenses, and he never scored under 5 touchdowns on those teams. And I think those yards per touchdown predictions or like numbers that I just brought out, it's a decent indicator because you can compare apples to oranges with the Jets offense and the Panthers offense. Now, I think where it gets really juicy, that's just touchdown luck numbers where he's been throughout the league. I think where it gets really juicy, we have McCaffrey coming back this week. And what McCaffrey does, while he is a beautiful, handsome young man, he does bring in, he brings something to the offense that Mike Davis can. Mike Davis is a great player, but what McCaffrey does is he demands resources from the defense. They come in, they load the box for McCaffrey, and what that does, takes the lid off the defense for Robby Anderson. He can now get open deep. He can get open in the intermediate routes. And it shows on the stats. When you look at the games with Christian McCaffrey in those first 2 weeks, Robby Anderson averaged 7.5 catches per game, 112 yards, and 0.5 touchdowns per game. Without Christian McCaffrey, Robby Anderson's only averaged 6 catches for 77 yards per game. So I know that this is a small sample, but like I said, Christian McCaffrey, he's going to demand the resources, and I think that he's going to be better down the stretch, whether that's because Christian McCaffrey is going to demand more resources from the defense or because Robby Anderson is just going to score more touchdowns and be on the other side of touchdown luck the rest of the season. Now, next up, we look at running backs, and my trade target for this week at running backs is Leonard Fournette. And if you're a longtime supporter of the channel, longtime supporter of Ron Stewart, you know Leonard Fournette was one of my guys in the offseason, and there's nobody in the universe that could have projected that he would have gotten cut, signed by the Buccaneers, and then get a high ankle sprain after a top 12 fantasy league where he explodes against the Panthers. It's just been an absolutely bad beat on Leonard Fournette. I'll be the first one to tell you it was a bad call. There was signs he was going to get cut by the Jaguars, but I think right now he's being valued at RB29, and just know that's a little bit too low, Reddit. I have him right now as a top 24 running back, and it's because ever since he came back from injury week 7, he's been dominating touches in the backfield. Rojo, it's clear that Bruce Arians, they don't trust Ronald Jones. He fumbles the ball, and he's not a great pass catcher. Right now in the last 2 games, Fournette has 26 carries, 13 targets, and he had a season-high 73.4% snap share in Week 8. Ronald Jones only has 20 carries, 6 targets, and he had a season-low 25% snap share in Week 8. So that's their volume over the last 2 weeks. Fournette obviously pulling out ahead, and the gap's only going to widen as long as Fournette does not get hurt. Now, despite getting this increased volume on like a top 5, top 10 offense, he's only been the RB17 and RB27 in those weeks, and he hasn't fully exploded since coming back from the injury. So I think that's what creates that buy low window. He hasn't had that week where he establishes himself as a top 20 running back, and I think it's coming soon. Now, I will say he has a tough matchup against New Orleans this week, and it might be a tough game to start him. So if you want to wait a week, you can. He has the Panthers next week, which is a juicy matchup. There's always a chance that he goes off against New Orleans, or that the owner that you're trying to trade with is hesitant to give him up because they know that the Panthers are a juicy matchup and they want to see what he does in that matchup. So trade for him at your own risk, whether that's this week or next week. But I think he's a great buy low. I think that he has potential to be a top 15 running back if he performs well. It really just comes down to him fighting off Ronald Jones and not getting hurt. This last one is for all the supporters or all the viewers out there that have George Kittle. If I could in this basement, I would pour one out for you guys. I know it's sad to lose a guy like Kittle, but I think the next best option, if I'm struggling, I don't have anybody, because if you have Kittle, you probably don't have a backup tight end. You know what I mean? And I think if he's not on waivers, this guy's the perfect guy to buy low from another team. And it's Robert Tonyan, aka George Kittle Jr., baby George Kittle, baby Kittle. Right now, Robert Tonyan's getting valued as a tight end 15 on the Reddit trade value chart, and I don't understand how he can be that low when he's a tight end 5 in points per game. And I know that it's kind of skewed because he did have that big performance where he got 3 touchdowns. But just hear me out for a second. He now has 3 top 6 tight end finishes in only 7 games, and he's coming off his highest target game of the season with 7. Not only that, he hit his season high in snap share with 7.7%, and he hit his season high in routes with 26 last week. So his opportunity is only climbing. These are in games with Aaron Jones are out. Their playmakers are getting hurt on this team, and Green Bay is the second best offense according to offensive DVOA. And you have to remember, this is Aaron Rodgers' MVP type season. I know Russell Wilson's in first place, but Aaron Rodgers is top 3 in the race right now. And this is one of those years where he's being a transcendent QB, and you want the tight end in that offense, because after Devontae Adams, it gets a little bit like who the fuck is next up. If they had traded for Will Fuller, it'd be a completely different story. But right now, after Devontae Adams, it's Robert Tonyan, it's MBS. I know Allen Lazard just came back. I don't want to hear any of that nonsense about Allen Lazard. Tonyan's points per game with Lazard 13.25, without him 14.35. So it is like a 0.9 difference, but it's negligible. It's not even important. But for me with Tonyan, he's a top 6 to 8 tight end moving forward. And if you can get him around that tight end 12, tight end 15 price, which is pretty much you can buy him for a bag of Cheetos, it's a great buy at tight end. If you made it this far, man, I appreciate it. And if you're new here, make sure you get down below and subscribe and leave a like. And for all of you longtime supporters, we just hit 250 subscribers. If you've been here for a week, if you made it to the end of this video and you've been here since before 250 subscribers, let me know about it in the comments. I love connecting with you guys. I really want to establish this community with you guys where we talk about sports, fantasy football, and even more than that. So if you even just want to tell me how your day was going, let me know in the comments, man. I love connecting with you guys. And if you don't want to hit me up in the comments down below, I always have my Twitter DMs open at @Ronstewart_ on Twitter. And as always, man, I'll see you in the next one.